Hey everybody. So today we're going to be talking about designing the Machinist square. And the first thing you're going to do is create a new document in your shared folder named Machinist square, and you're going to open this up, right? And this video I've sped up 2 times, so like this is going a lot faster than I would normally show you guys stuff, but hopefully you already know how to do a lot of this stuff. So this is just a really quick overview of the process that I do. So the first thing I did is in my first part studio is I started to create what we're going to call the handle. And the handle is 1 by 4 inches long and it's 3/8 of an inch deep. Okay, so I have that block there. Now I'm creating a sketch on the side of this block that is 0.125 wide, 7/8 of an inch tall, and positioned 1/8 of an inch away from the edge here. Okay, so we can see that all those lines are black now, so they are in their proper spot. We can then go through and extrude, right? And some of the things that we need to do for extrude is we want to extrude all the way through. We are removing material, and we're going to click the checkbox. All right. Now on the front of this object, we're going to put the 4 holes that our rivets are going to go in later on, okay? But today, instead of using the circle tool, we're going to use the point tool, which you can find over on the top, a few over from like the spline tool. Okay, so with this point tool, I'm going to drop 4 points. I'm going to use my horizontal constraint to constrain them horizontally. I'm going to use my vertical constraint to constrain them vertically. This allows me to just dimension 4 times in order to set these up. So the dimension between the edge and here is 3/16 of an inch. So between there and there is 0.3 or 3/16. Same thing on the left here. We have 3/16. And then one thing that I did here is I want to dimension that off of the base. Okay. So in the right side, as you can see in my image here, I have this cube underneath of the cube. I've dropped that down, and I am going to select hidden edges visible. Okay, now we can see that slot that I created on the bottom, and we can dimension to that point, and that dimension is also going to be 3/16 of an inch. Okay. So at this point, we're going to now use the hole tool, all right? And let's kind of like talk about this. We want a simple hole. We want it to go through, okay? We can select our 4 points, and you can see now that our holes are way too big. So you're gonna select the drilled option in the top, okay? Because we're gonna use a drilled hole. Then it asks for the size of that hole. The size of that hole is gonna be 1/8 of an inch. And again, we want to go through all, so it goes through the front and the back, and we're going to now click the check mark. Also within that process, I selected all 4 of my actual pieces. Okay, so we've created the holes now. I'm going to just turn off all of my planes. And we want to rename this thing to be the handle. Okay, so that's what I'm doing in the bottom. And then as we go through, we're going to change the color of this. So technically, the handle itself of this piece is supposed to be aluminum. So you're going to select like a light gray or like a silverish color to represent aluminum on our handle. All right, and when we go to rotate around, we can see that it's shiny like aluminum. We have our holes, we have everything that we need for this part done. Okay, now on the bottom, we're going to create a new part studio. Okay, so now I've just created a new part studio, and I'm going to call this thing the blade. So I'm going to do that again on my front view, and I just realized that like I pushed the wrong button, whatever. So this is going to be 6 inches long and 1 inch tall. Okay, it's going to be extruded out to 1/8 of an inch thick. And then we need to add some holes to the front of this object. But instead of using the circle tool today, I'm going to teach you guys about the point and hole tool. So the point tool is at the top here. And the point tool allows me to put 4 points onto my drawing. Then I'm using the vertical and horizontal constraint to constrain these two and these two vertically, and those two horizontally. So now they're like constrained in relation to one another. So because of that, I can put less dimensions on, because as I dimension the heights of, here, hold on. As I dimension the height of this one, it also dimensions the height of that one. As I dimension like how far from the edge this one is, it also dimensions how far that one is, because they're aligned. And then I can go through with like my other corner and specify the height of my object in between these, which is 0.5, and the width of my object here, my dot, which is 0.625 or 5/8 of an inch. Okay, so I have those 4 points. They're all dimensioned, aligned with one another. And here I'm going to select the hole tool, which the hole tool is found right here. Select the hole tool. We want to select a couple different things. We want to make sure that we have a simple hole. We want to make sure that we have a through hole, because we want it to go through the entire object. And then we're going to set it up so that the hole type is drilled and that the hole diameter is 1/8 of an inch. And we're going to click the check box. Okay. So at this point, we have this object produced. It is being built off of, you notice I just turned the origin on. This is the origin, so it's being built off that same corner. And this is supposed to be steel, so we're going to give it a darker gray color for the steel. Okay, so the aluminum gets a light gray, the steel gets a dark gray. And in the end, we should have our blade looking like this. Again, notice that the holes are not centered vertically, they're closer to the bottom than the top. Okay, and again, 3/16 of an inch above, it's an eighth rather above. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the rivet. So I'm going to create a sketch on the front. The rivet is an 1/8 inch pin, so I'm just going to start by drawing a circle that's 0.125. Then I'm going to extrude that thing out 0.375, which is the same width as the object on a hole. Okay, going to get rid of all that. And the rivet is supposed to be brass, so I'm going to give it like a yellow or a gold kind of look to it. And I'm going to rename that rivet. And, you know, there we can see the rivet. Okay, and then again, we have a blade, we have our handle. At this point, you should have all of the parts in the same document. And from there, we will continue learning how to assemble those things.